was struggling, man. My brain went left. I was like, that's not the word. Adversity. So anyway, all right. Well, while we have you here and in this space, let's go ahead and dive in and talk real quick because we got a couple people that are anxious to hear from you. Before we
Okay.
even get into the nuts and bolts of this thing, why don't you go ahead and give the quick version to our audience about who you are and what your program is all about.
All all right. So, my name is Lorenze Billups. I'm the head girls track and field coach at Arsenal Tech High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been coaching for a little under a decade. Started off as a jumps coach at Ramstein High School in Germany. Uh, Long jump and triple jump. Came back to the States in 2018 um, and coached in Maryland for a little under 2 years. Had the opportunity to go to junior nationals and junior Olympics. And actually, my motivation for even coming back home to my hometown and having a desire to get and stay involved with coaching at the public school level was when I went to junior Olympics. Um, but really, when I went to junior nationals, the New Balance nationals, I saw a lot of teams from all over the country, and then I saw what some of the standards were for qualifying, and everybody knows, like, especially you see a lot of people say, uh, like the fastest person or the best athlete they ever knew was somebody who wasn't formally on a team, right? So I'm looking at some of these times and I'm like, man, I know five dudes right now that could probably wake up out the bed and run these times. Not to say that they weren't fast. I was just saying like, I had been around track athletes time and I'm like, there's no way that in Indianapolis where I'm from, we don't have five kids that can run 11 flat on the boys' side, 12 low on the girls' side. That was what the times were. This was 2018, right? So in 2018, these are some of the times that I was seeing there. Obviously, I wasn't quite as in tune with the qualifying standards, but while I was there, I'm seeing these times, and I'm like, there's no way we don't have five kids that can hit this time, out of the state, out of the entire state. Um, And so, started off as a jump coach. Coach jumps at Ben Davis under Mike Davison. Still a really good track mentor for me here at the high school level. And in 2023, yeah, 2023, the head coaching position at Arsenal Tech opened up and came in, interviewed for it, and got the role. I actually, funny thing is, I got the call that I got the job while I was at USATF level two for jumps.
Mm.
So I stepped out, um, took that had to take a call, and then when I came back in, there was a group presenting. If you ever been to USATF to the level two, you know that there's like a project at the end, a group project. So they stopped the current group that was going and said, "Hey, so what's up?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" They were like, "So job," because everybody there knew that I had interviewed for this role, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got it." And they were like, and so they kind of gave me a small round of applause, and then we got back to business. So so yeah, that's kind of the short version of me as a coach.
Mhm.
Um, I love what I do. I actually am in the classroom because I coach. That was my draw when I got out of the military to join the classroom and come back to the classroom, was because I knew I wanted to coach and I wanted to be immersed in the classroom or in the school environment. Because when I was in the military, I didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an amazing journey, man. That's I always find it interesting how coaches get to where they are, right? And we never know exactly where they're going or how they got there. And so when we find out, they're like, man, you went through all of that, right? It seems like we got some things in common though, right? So jump squat. And
Yeah,
and
I
it
saw
looks
that
like
shirt, man. I want one. I need
so
one.
this was custom made by one of the other coaches I used to coach with, man. You can't find this anywhere else. I think I'm gonna have to really do some other ones and make some of these too.
It looks like the shirt that is it Keenan Briggs?
No, this was custom made by
Okay,
a coach that I was coaching with at my last high school.
okay,
So yeah, but this you see some very similar ones out there. But
yeah,
this like had no Nike tag or anything like that. So it's
right.
so, but yeah, so I that's how I got started too, be honest with you. Well, at the high school level, we were working through the jumps and stuff. So it's kind of cool. So all right, you're at Arsenal and you take over this program. Congratulations on getting the job, right? Because I already know a leadership position is, sometimes they're hard to come by, and then you do get them. You walk into a program that may not be the best, and you got to build it up. So when you first take over the program here, what was the first thing that you focused on? And listen, I don't want to hear all this, so all that sexy stuff out there, right? I want to talk. What was the very first thing that you felt like was going to make like the biggest impact?
Um, so it, I come from I say I come from good track stock. My college track coach is Clyde Morgan and Robert John. And so I had to have a lot of conversations with them on the front end, like, hey, what's the first thing, like you said, what's the first thing I need to focus on? And they told me it was culture, like focus on culture. So I came in and I knew a lot of the kids. A lot of the kids had been asking me to coach because they actually saw me at different meets because I was coaching at Ben Davis, but I was working at Arsenal Tech. Um, and then if we have time, I'll tell like a cool story about why the school is called Arsenal Tech a little later. But and so when I came in, my first thing was, all right, y'all. So yeah, I know y'all know how I roll, but these are my non-negotiables. You have to show up on time. And I still have the rule, and it's actually kind of funny because now the kids enforce it. It's almost like a game now. So when I came in, I told the kids, you know, um, if you're gonna be late, let me know. I'll give you a 5 minute grace period. 5 minute grace period is 25 push-ups first 5 minutes that you come in. Every minute after that is an additional five push-ups up to 50. So like you have a 10-minute window to be late. You're late, you do your push-ups. And I told the kids, I said, if you show up more than 10 minutes late and I have no notice, you might as well go home.
Mhm.
And the first 3 weeks of conditioning, I put out I put out who ended up being my three fastest athletes for both boys and girls. This is on the boys and girls side.
Yeah.
So um, I put out the three fastest athletes from that season, and um, and it kind of shook up the group because not only were they the fastest, but they kind of had a lot of uh cachet on campus. So
Mhm.
Tech is a 68-acre campus. It's larger
Whoa.
than a lot of college campuses. And it's not just that it's 68 acres, it is 12 buildings as well. So um
Whoa.
with as big as it is, people around the campus still knew who these three were.
Right.
And so I had to set a tone. And um, if I could go back, I probably would have done it a little bit differently. Now, but this is hindsight. I probably would have done it a little bit differently with the girls than I did with the boys. Um, but yeah, like that was my very first thing. My very first thing was we have to be on time. And it wasn't just we have to be on time because I say we have to be on time for workouts and things like that. But like if you know, like anybody who's been to a high school track, if you really need to be there about an hour before
Yeah.
so you can get your team warm up in, you can set your team camp up. You got the field event athletes, your jumpers, they have to get their marks. Your throwers have to weigh in their implements. Like there's a lot of logistics that goes into track meets. Um, and so I wanted to set that tone because what it did for us later on was very beneficial.
Absolutely. So it sounds like punctuality was the key, right? But it's more than being punctual, right? There's the respect for my time and there's the respect for your time, which ultimately
Mhm.
means it's respect between the two of us, right? So if I don't respect your time, then I don't respect you as an individual. And so those little things matter. And I often ask my kids this. And when I first met our new group, I'm at a new school too, right? And one of the first things I asked them, I said, how many of you have ever been bit by an elephant? Of course, they looked at me sideways. What are you talking about, coach? And nobody raised their hand, obviously. And then I said, turned around and said, how many of you have ever been bit by a mosquito? Of course, everybody raised their hand. And I told them, see, it's not the big things that come and get you. It's always the small things that bite you,
Mhm.
right? And so that's essentially what it sounds like you did. You took something very small and said, "Hey, this seems like it's small, but it will bite you if you don't get this. We can't show up late because how we do anything is how we do everything, right?"
Yep.
And so what did you see that told you, yeah, we're on the right track?
So, all right. So these kids are graduating now, so I can share their names. So so there were a couple things. So I knew I was on the right track. Kid named Kevin. Um, Kevin, that's my guy. Kevin and Johnny, they were like two peas in a pod, right? So they they were the two that I put out day one. It was them. It was those two and like a couple of others.
Yeah.
So I put them out, right? So when they left, it wasn't really pleasant words exchanged or whatever. And on the way out, you know, I just kind of told them like I'm not gonna do this with y'all, you know, but if y'all want to have a conversation later, we can. Um, and so they came back to me. Um, I think it was either later that same day because since we're in buildings, we were in the building that we train in. They left out of the building, and then they ended up coming back to the building um, later on before we dismissed to for the after school buses tomorrow. And they apologized. It was like we were wrong. We kind of acted a certain way in front of everybody, like we shouldn't have disrespected you like that. We do want to be on the team, but um, we, like you're gonna have to work with us, right? And so those two, like I see them in the city all the time, and I have a lot of love for those guys. And then there's another, the girl was Arena Taylor, who's actually running at St. Francis right now, University of St. Francis.
Okay.
This is her sophomore season. And like those three, the reason why they stuck out to me was because these three kids, I promise you, there were so many people that told me it's not gonna work. You know, that everybody's tried to work with them. It don't work. We chasing them around campus. They don't have grades. Arena kind of was always eligible, but Johnny and Kevin, they were well, they don't have grades. And I was like, I'm gonna work with them, right? And I will tell you this: Johnny to this day is the most naturally gifted runner I've seen. And if I have some video of him sprinting, I'm gonna have to share it to the group. He looks the part. So when
Mhm.
I say a smooth sprinter, he is a smooth sprinter. Um, so yeah, but like when those three started leading the charge in kind of telling everybody like, nah, you need to show up. Like, and they were the ones who made it a game, like with the push-ups. Like, nah, coach, you see that? They 3 minutes late. They owe 25, right? So they
Right.
were the ones who started doing that. And once they started leading and I didn't really have to say anything, I knew I was like, okay, this is gonna be a good group. This is gonna
Yeah.
be a good group.
Yeah. You know what? And honestly, a lot of people look and go, how do you build a great program? And to me, that's the staple. And probably people aren't picking up on it, but it's the empowerment of the athletes, right?
Yes.
Because they are just as much as the program as you are as the leader or the figurehead of that program. They are
Hmm.
too. And it sounds like, again, you gave them a target. Here is the standard. Abide by the
Hmm.
standard or there's consequences, and they need to understand that. and nobody's above the law, right? It doesn't matter
Hmm.
how fast you think you are, follow the rules that we've set for this program.
Hmm.
But if you do follow the rules, I'm going to empower you to lead. I'm going to empower you to hold your other peers accountable, and then we can start in. And it sounds like they bought into it, right? They knew you weren't playing. So now, from what I know, so I was like, I had to do some research. I was like, who is this Arsenal, right? Because I'm down in Georgia. I'm not. I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
anything
Yeah. Yeah.
about the high schools except for New Jersey, where I graduated from,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And I go, holy crap, these kids are running, right? So and they're jumping too. How in the world
Hmm.
are you able to get some of these kids to go dropping a whole second into 100 and dropping 2 seconds into 200 and expanding 3 to 5 feet in long jump in a single season? What are you doing over there,
Yeah.
coach? What's your approach?
So I will tell you this, it's easier than it is hard. So the first kid that I did it with, actually there's two, one girl, one male. The female is actually the University of Dayton triple jump record holder. Her name is Christiera Williams.
Mm,
So I met her first year. Dad comes in, Coach Williams, still my guy. Um, I got it, man. My daughter, she's this, she's that, and I was like, I gotta see her, right? Because I'm one of those people where everybody thinks their kid is the best thing ever.
right.
And so he showed me her. I said, well, what's she jumping right now? I think she was jumping 34, 30, no, 33
Not bad.
low,
Yeah,
you know,
not
but
terrible.
I could see like she was a triple. She had that weird kickback in the
Hmm.
first phase,
Right,
and it was kind of taken out of the second phase. And I was like, well, I was a triple jumper in college, and I know that your biggest bang for your buck is going to be in those first two phases.
right.
Um, And so she went from 33 to 36 year one. Then dad called me, hey, we're coming to Maryland. I had PCS from Germany to Maryland. We're coming to Maryland. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. He's like, no, we'll be there next week. I was like, oh, you're serious. He's like, I can't afford to pay for school. So she don't have to get this scholarship.
Mm,
And so she came over, then she went from 36 to 38. Um, and then her senior year, it was just kind of like it was already kind of in the books at that point, and she just kind of finished the job.
right.
Um, so and then I had another kid, Jason Jones, who was also at Ramstein. He was he had never tripled before. And so his first meet, he jumped 36. I said, you're gonna jump 42 before the season's over. He's like, I ain't never done this before. I said, trust me. I was like, you're a 42-foot triple jumper.
Mm,
And we got to the championship, the finals. And I said, there was a kid named Kobe Cox who jumped for Lakenheath, which is in the UK. And I was like, hey, he's not 100% right now. So go make him work for it. I said, can you just give me 41? And he's like, say less. Next jump, 41 more. I said, oh, okay, how much you have left in the tank? He said, I mean, I probably could have went further. I said, okay, well, can you give me 42? He said, say less. Next jump, 42 too.
mm.
So Kobe came and jumped like a 44, some change, 40, and like kind of blew it out the water. But I just wanted him to make him work for it.
Yep,
So I'll tell you this: in the jumps, it's really straightforward. Um, I, every jumper is a sprinter,
right.
and every every jumper has to master the approach. So this is how I break it down to. I do a drill called push, float, turn. So I
Mm,
have them push for the first four steps. Then I have them float or maintain that speed for the next 8 to 10-ish steps.
mhm.
So now we're at about 14. And it depends because some kids may only be going um 14. I mean, some kids may only go 12 steps. So then I adjust it, but this is for a 16-step athlete. And then I tell them the last 2 to 4 steps they should be turning over. So I call it the turn,
Right.
right? Where you're really cutting the steps and you're trying to get down on the board. And I do that because it keeps them consistent on the runway and it keeps them from reaching at the board.
Right.
So in the jumps, the most important thing is the approach. And so the kids, when you first get them, a lot of times you see kids trying to run full speed at takeoff. But I tell them it doesn't matter. Like I say, hey, you need to slow down. Well, I feel like I need to run faster. It's like, well, it doesn't matter how fast you are on the runway. It matters how fast you can maintain, and it matters how fast you are at the point of takeoff. So
Hmm.
you can be the flash on step 10, 11, 12. It doesn't matter if you're slowing down on step 14, 15, 16, because now you're not taking that speed with you
Right.
into the air. So that's the thing. So I tell kids this. We're in Indiana. And so I tell a kid, so I have a kid who made it to state last year. He jumped 23.6 and some change. So I told him, I said, I tell all my kids, whatever you jump indoor, you will jump 3 feet further outdoor for me.
Mm.
And because I know a few things. One, we don't have an indoor facility. So anything that you do at an indoor meet, basically we're using that as practice. Um, and then the other thing is we live in a cold weather state. So as the weather gets warmer, you're naturally going to get more loose. And
Right.
then you don't feel like you're trying as hard on some of these jumps. So to get a kid to go 3 feet is basically uh, a few things. One, get them faster, which is a combination of strength and plyometrics. Um, and then also like their sprint mechanics have to be solid. Um, Two, get the approach consistent, whatever that looks like for that athlete, because every athlete is going to be able to do a little bit more or less depending on where they are. And then the other thing is trust. Like that's a huge part of it that I see so many coaches at the high school level where they're struggling to pull the most out of an athlete is the kid don't just doesn't trust
Right.
you. And the thing is, my first year coaching, I made the mistake of thinking that how much I knew would build trust. And that's not it. You build trust. Do you show up? You telling me to show up on time? Do you show up on time every day?
Mm.
You telling me to trust you? Well, I got this thing going on in my personal life. Um, you know, are you gonna be there for me? My first year was heartbreaking at Tech. I had a kid who had just transferred in, not gonna say from where, called me middle of the night, like 11. And so these are hours that you're not even supposed to be like communicating with athletes. So she messaged me in our team app and is like, coach. And she just said coach. And I was like, I didn't respond. She was like, my mom. Okay, now I'm actually concerned.
Hmm.
She's dead.
Mm.
Athlete has to leave the next week, doesn't come back to school, moves out of state, to where mom is at. And it's like things like that happen.
Mm.
Like things like that happen. I've had some stuff happen. My first year, but when I say it was heartbreaking, it was heartbreaking. Had to go see a kid, in the hospital. Kids who are on the team, they know who I'm talking about. There was an incident that happened. Not gonna share the details. If
Right.
people can
Right.
figure it out, they can figure it out. But some of these things happen, and um, that kid, when they came back to school, um, and when I came to see him, mom told me, man, just last week before break, he said, I'm gonna get my grades together. My mama going on track.
Mm.
You know, um, and so those are the things where it's like if you want to pull the most out of a kid, that's not a thing that you can measure on a scale. Like I have a correlation for the 30 to the 60, for the 60 to the 100. I have all of that. For the 100 to 200, I have all of the correlations. But none of those correlations are going to tell me how to be there for a kid when they need
Yeah. That I think that's so key because I think one of the things coaches do is go, man, what's the blueprint? What's the technical stuff that I need to know? What what is all the data that I could dig into? But in the reality is that the kids are still human, right? They're not
Mm-hmm.
numbers. And I think you got it, right? Um, and we should as coaches, we spend just as much time, if not more, with these athletes as the teachers do, and sometimes more time than the parents do because the parents are working. They
Mm-hmm.
might see them for an hour, and then they're off doing homework in the bed. We're spending 2 or 3 hours with them, working weight room, things like that, right?
Yep.
And then at the meets, we're there from sun up to sundown a lot of times.
Yep.
So we spend hours with these kids. And so um, Joe Ehrman, who wrote this book, Inside Out Coach, man, which I think is just
Mm-hmm.
amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the folks he calls us teacher mentors or coach mentors,
Yep.
right? And that's essentially this system, right? Because
Yep.
you have developed a relationship with these individuals where they will trust you. And there's an old cliche saying, right? Nobody cares how much you know until they know how
No.
much you care, right?
Yep.
That's but people don't really grasp it a lot of times. And I think what you've done is grasp that, yeah, we've got these great athletes, but the fact that the kids reach out to you and go, hey, this is happening in my life. And the very first thing you do is show up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we got a lot of athletes out there that nobody shows up. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so important. So when you guys are out there, you're listening, you're going, hey, what's the system to get these kids to run faster, to jump further? And the
Mm-hmm.
question ultimately has to be, do they trust you enough to give everything?
Yep. I have some college athletes. Um, they didn't run for me in high school, but since they've been in college, they've started to rely on my level of expertise to help them with some things
Mm,
that they're not that's not happening, at that next level. Not gonna say the schools, not gonna say anything like that. The issue they were having with their coach was a very simple issue.
mm,
The coach didn't understand that these athletes wanted to be told the truth. If I have a bad jump, I don't want you to tell me like it was good because it
yeah,
wasn't. I need you to tell me like what I did wrong and how I can fix it.
right,
That is a very simple task, but you have to be able to read that from an athlete. And it's hard to get to that point in unless you're actually talking to the athlete. Um, and so that's the trust factor. And I think we're going to get into it a little bit later. So I do have like some more technical things for coaches if they want it at the high school level. I can kind of dig into that a little bit because I do understand that piece can be a little bit overwhelming
yep,
sometimes, especially when you're dealing with, in high school, you might have 120 kids on a roster and you're trying to figure out like who should you put where and, what events and everything like that. So,
right. Yeah, managing big teams, that's going to be interesting. We actually got a session coming up with that about, low level resources and even big teams. How do you manage these large teams, especially if you only have a
mhm,
couple of coaches? I know Georgia is really tough. A lot of times, we only have like two or three coaches and maybe four. And it just gets so difficult to try to manage a large roster when you've only got a few coaches. But speaking of technical, right? You mentioned the
mhm.
jumps earlier.
Yeah,
And I'm a huge fan. I knew everything that you were talking about, right? I could see it in my
yeah,
mind. I have a very similar I call it just a simple pro approach, right? Hey, here's your
mhm,
alignment. Let's get your body
yep,
together and our sprint mechanics together. Here's your acceleration, and then we're going to takeoff phase, right? Your
yep,
strike phase, I call it, right? All those things go into it. But then you got all these technical things that you're doing with the sprinters and the jumpers together. So collectively, Uh,
Mhm.
how does that happen? What is your way? What is your technique of coaching them? How are you teaching them? Is it about the strength? Is it about the consistency? What's the blueprint behind the success that you're having year after year with multiple athletes to get them to perform beyond the relationship, right? So let's get into the
Okay.
technical pieces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. So, you mind if I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, yeah, go for it. I think you should have capability.
Uh,
Double
I'm
check.
gonna send you the request. I'll send you the request.
Got you. There it is.
All right. So, um, let me see. So, and I'm gonna share this, and I cannot take credit for this layout in particular, but can you see this? All
It
right, there we go.
is starting to
Now
come
you
up.
can see it.
Let's see.
All right, there we
Okay,
go.
yep, I got you.
So this is my annual, and this is actually my annual for this year. And it's not finalized just yet because I have to finalize my roster. I mean, not my roster, but my schedule. So what I do is I lay out my year in full, and I look at the IHSA or our state calendar, and I look at the meets where I want our kids to perform the best at, right?
Hmm,
So um so in the state of Indiana, or I should say in Indianapolis, right? We have our indoor state meet. I'm not gonna say I don't care about it. Like if a kid makes it, like obviously I'm gonna try to get them to go out there and perform the best. However, that's not really what I'm working towards. My goal is end of May, right? So I'm really looking at this time frame right here.
hmm,
So if I look at all of these meets, this meet right here, which is Kenny Randall, and then there's another one that's not on the schedule yet because I got to get the date for it. But Charlie Riley and Kenny Randall are the two biggest meets aside from our city meet on our schedule because I know that between those three meets, I am going to see every single team or at least 90% of the teams that are going to be in our sectional and regional meet.
hmm,
And we have, I would argue, we have the toughest regional in the state in
hmm,
terms of just overall times. And I, I mean, if you're in regional four, you may think differently, but I would definitely venture to argue that if it's between regional five and six.
right. Gotcha.
That's just my experience. Point state champion and record holder in both long jump and from last year was in our sectional and regional.
Mm,
And her name's Kaya Crook. She's at Arizona, and she also was at the Indianapolis City League. So, and she's also at Kenny Randall, and she was also at Charlie Riley. So, you know, that's what I mean. Between those meets, I know that I'm going to see the times and the marks that will let me know where my team is at. So what I do is when I'm trying to prepare for them to hit those times, I figure out what the three participant standard is. It's it was 1099 last year. It's probably gonna be like 1091 this year because you had to run 10.7 just to make finals last year. Um, this is on the boys side.
so what
On the
is what
girls
is
side,
that for those of us that aren't in Indianapolis?
okay,
What is the participants
okay.
standard?
So the three participant standard means for your sectional. So on this date right here, for your sectional meet, you get, if you have three people on your team hit that mark, you can put three athletes into an event. So let's say I just said the 100th time. If I have three boys on my team run 1099 or better, I can put all three boys into the 100 meter for the sectional meet. Otherwise, I
Ah,
only get two. So
Gotcha.
now, if you know anything about track and field, now that's a numbers game,
Yeah.
right? So that's always going to be my goal in terms of just the raw numbers. Um, the metrics that I use to determine how on target my athletes are, I use a few things. I use a 30-meter dash out of blocks. I use the 60-meter race in the meet. And then I use a 30-meter fly and a 10-meter fly, right?
All right, so
And
you know
so
I'm gonna have to
that
back you
tells
up for a half a second, right? You said a 60-meter race. Did you mean they're actually in the race and you're clocking them for that
when
first 60 meters?
no, when we go to indoor meets,
The indoor
I
60. I
want,
got you.
yeah, the indoor
I
60.
got you.
I want, and I say that because the correlation between the 60 and the 100, I can tell a kid, like, if you run the 60
Mhm.
in X time, you should run it in this, you should run the 100 in this time. And if
Right,
you don't run the 100 in this time, I need to be looking at either your speed endurance
right. Maintenance.
or your train. It's probably going to be most of the time with high schoolers. What I see is it's not the speed endurance component. Like, they can usually hold on. Usually what it is their transition. They have a inefficient transition from their acceleration into their top end speed. So
Mhm.
they when they come out of the blocks, they're like this, and then when they hit top end speed, they pop up, right?
Right.
You know, it's like
Because high
watching.
school kids don't have drive phases worth nothing, right?
Man, and so I've learned a few different ways to, like, kind of get them to stay in the dry phase.
Hmm.
Um, and so, um, yeah, and so that's another thing for another day. So, so yeah, like, when I'm looking at this season as a whole, um, I look at what does our season look like. Um, Sometimes it changes, but for the most part, once we get our schedule down, it is what it is. And then I look at where we're performing right around here.
Okay.
This time right here, that's when I want to start doing some race modeling in practice. Um, and so there's three things that I look at for any athlete in the 100, or not in the 100, in running in general. The sprints. I'm looking at their drive phase, like acceleration coming out of blocks. So 0 to 30. I'm looking at their transition out of their drive phase into their top end mechanics. And then once they are up and running full speed, I try to look at, and this is really an eye test in the Olympics. They have, like, the every 10 meters. Maybe one day we'll have enough resources where we can get, 10 speed gates and I can clock where they're starting to slow down at. But I kind of eye it, and then I ask the athlete, talk to the athlete, like, how they feel on the way down. If they feel like they're starting to slow down later, like too early, like they can't hold on, sometimes, if they haven't been coming to practice like that and things like that, I can kind of gauge, like, yeah, you probably just are not in shape. But a lot of times with our kids, they have been coming, and it's just a matter of getting them to hold their drive phase a little bit longer and then to transition smoothly. So I tell my kids, I want you to be like an airplane. Like, if you got on the airplane and it just was on the runway and it just jumped to 10,000 feet in the air, that would be a very bad plane ride.
Yeah.
You'd feel terrible. Like, so you want it to be a nice, smooth transition off the ground and into the air before you kind of level out and get steady.
Mhm.
And the kids, they understand that. Most of them have been on a plane. If they've never been on a plane, then I tell them to imagine being in a Ferrari, or a Mustang or something like that. If you hit the gas really hard, the car just kind of jolts you forward. And, like, you don't want
Right.
that. You want to have a nice gradual acceleration, you know, no bumps in the road or anything. You want it to just be nice and smooth, and then you look down and you're doing 60.
Right. So it sounds like a little bit of, hey, don't panic. right? And don't skip the gears or don't skip the steps or the transitions, right?
Yep.
Turn the knob and increase over the distance
Yeah.
of and then maintain in a sense, right? The
Yeah.
very very
And,
simplified version.
yeah. And then I wanted to hit on this, like for the kids that I have that have multiple events and things like that. The way I structure a workout is I use ranges, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm doing a speed workout, my range is 300 meters on the low end and it's 800 meters on the high end. So I usually try to find myself somewhere in the middle. So something like I may do like 3 to 4 by 80 meters. And then I may do um, 3 to 4 by 80 meters, and then I'll do um, 4 to 6 by 60 meters. So that puts me right in that sweet spot of around 600 meters. And
Mhm.
what I do is the minute the mechanics start to break down in the reps, I cut it. I cut the workout.
Right.
And the kids hate it because they're like, nah, I can finish. I'm like, nah, you can't
Right.
because your body is telling me like it's not ready to handle that yet.
That's key. That's a key. That's a nugget, ladies and gentlemen. That's a nugget. If you didn't catch that, see, a lot of y'all think speed work is going out there and doing 4 or 500s, right? That is not speed work. That starts there. People, look, I'm about to start a riot out here. Um, look what
If you
he's
do
listen
four
to
or
what he
five
said.
hundreds, you're gonna start dipping into some speed reserve training,
Tell him again, man. So
and now you're not working
understand
top 10
first.
speed.
Look, listen, we gotta define speed work with a lot of people. And if you hear, listen to what he said. The zone is between 300 to 800 meters for speed work, depending on the time of year. And then here is the biggest key that I'm taking away from here. If you're listening very carefully, is knowing when to cut the workout. When you start to see bad habits show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And things that are inconsistent with the results that you're trying to get, stop, right? Because the athlete's body is telling you something. The workout's telling a story, and the response to the athlete's body, workout, is telling a story as well. And if you don't listen to either of those, you're going to end up with things that you don't want. So I'm sorry, coach, but that was great. That was a great point. I'm glad you said
Nah,
that.
nah,
Thank you.
you're good. You're good. So, so yeah, and so if I have a kid who's like maybe they're a jumper or a hurdler, I had a kid who was he jumped for me and he was my best hurdler, and I also had him sprinting, but he wasn't really one of my best sprinters. I just had him sprinting because I wanted his speed to improve for the hurdles, right? Um, so like in situations like that, they always do the technical work for that event first. So hurdlers, you go with the hurdles first. Um, Jumpers, you go with the jumps first, unless we are in and since I'm still sharing, I can go ahead and show you. So down here, you see right here, I have race model. Well, race modeling is not just race modeling, it's also meet modeling. So
Hmm.
if you are a jumper, that means that you are probably going to do maybe 1 or 2 jumps, and then you're going to have to run a preliminary, then you're going to have to come back, then
Mm,
you're going to have to go do a final, and then you're going to have to come back and jump again. So that means that at some point, I'm going to have to train skill under fatigue.
right.
So for my hurdlers, when they get to that point, um, they will do it's a rhythm hurdle drill, 3-step rhythm hurdles, and it's for 15 hurdles.
Mm,
So I start them I start them at 3 early on, then they build up to 5, then 8, then 12, then 15. So 15 is right in here, right around this April, right around
hmm.
Kenny Randall, they'll be doing 15 hurdles.
Are you short
But yeah,
stacking
but
them?
yes, so
Okay.
all of my so USATF, when I went to level 2 for sprint hurdles, they actually give you an equation for how to measure the
15.
distance between the hurdles.
Gotcha.
So what you do is you take the time that you want them to run, and then you subtract the time from blocks to the first hurdle. So you have to do this in a race. So you have to see them in a race.
Okay.
So the time from the blocks to first to hurdle one and the time from hurdle 10 to the finish line. You subtract that from the time you want them to run, and then you divide that number by the number of hurdles in the race, which is 10. And then that's how you get the actual distance um in between each hurdle because you want them running that time in between the short hurdles if
Mm.
they're ever going to get to that time in between the actual hurdles
On the
because
rhythm.
hurdles are about rhythm, right?
Right.
You're trying to speed up that rhythm.
Yeah.
So I did that, and actually I had a kid he was new and I knew it wasn't technically correct, but he was competitive. So what I did with him was I put him with the hurdler who was better because he was like 3, 4 inches taller. So so when I put him with this kid who was a better hurdler, I mean I'm trying not to share either of their names because they're still in school. They're still in high school. So when I paired him with him, he went from running 21 to running 16.9
Mm. Big jump.
last season. And so he was like, "Oh, if he ran this time, let in his first year, that means like." And so he starts doing the math. Next year, I should run like 14.8. And I'm like, I mean, we can say you should, but we don't know, right?
Right.
So, um, so that's how I get the hurdles down, and then for the jumps, like I said, it's a lot of technical stuff, but they'll do like their plyometrics and think because my jumpers have very specific plyometrics. So
Mm.
like my high jumpers, they have circle gallops, right? So I put
Mm-hmm.
them on they have like where the half circle is on the football field, which is also like the soccer marker. Like they run on the hash marks, and then when they get to the half circle, they do gallops, single leg bounds around the half circle, and then
Yeah.
they run out the back. Right, because I'm
Gotcha.
trying to get them to get comfortable in that
That
turn
J
for their
turn.
approach.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't do that. They can't start that if they're in a fatigue state. They have to learn that while they're still fresh. And then as the season progresses, then they can still do it and look pretty good, even if they do a couple of sprint reps beforehand.
Interesting. That's an interesting approach. We don't have a semicircle, but so what I had to obviously make a 12 to 15 meter circle on the mat,
Mm-hmm.
and I have them run on that line, making sure that their foot hits that line in a row. Because
Yep.
most of the high jumpers end up going outside and just the steps are all crazy. But that's a unique approach, man.
Yep.
Running in a semicircle. That's kind of cool. So right now, you've got things laid out. You're looking at the indoor meet, like, hey, whatever, it's just another meet. It's kind of just a tune up for us, or we gotta go to. If we get it, we get it. If not, but the more important things are coming up because you got these sectionals, we got the regionals, we got the state finals,
Mm-hmm.
and we got to make sure that we get our people in. And we're not only getting race modeling here, which is very common, but we're also looking at meet modeling, which
Yep.
is, hey, you got to be able to come back under these conditions. And if you don't train under these conditions, you're probably not going to perform well. So what you do at practice makes sense because of transition.
Mm-hmm.
So Georgia's unique because we do all of our field events first, and then they do all the running. So we get away. We don't have to really bounce back and forth too much,
Yeah.
most of the time. Now, sometimes it does
Mm-hmm.
overlap if long jump takes forever and a day, which that never happens. Yeah.
Listen, for us, it's always high jump.
Yeah. Do you guys high jump last?
No, we start high jump the same time we start long jump. The issue is that bar moving.
Yeah.
So like I said, I name dropped Kaya Crook, right? She's coming in at 5'10", five
Who?
5'8", 5'8", 5'10",
You said
So
she is coming in
she,
at
yeah,
5'8"?
yeah, you should look up you should look her up on Instagram. She can dunk a
What's her name?
basketball on a 10-foot goal. Kaya Crook.
Okay, okay. I'll be interested to see that. I
Yeah,
wonder if she's
I'll
jumped
have to.
against the girl from Bowden, Georgia yet. The girl who
I'm not
went
sure.
like 6 feet as like a freshman or sophomore.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'll have to I have to text her dad and let him know I name dropped her on this
Oh yeah.
on
Yeah,
here.
I would check out. I
Um,
love the jumpers, man. Look, I'm partial to the
yeah,
jumpers, as you can see.
yeah. So like when you have stuff like that happening. Well, now the jumps take forever because she's coming in when everybody else is kind of getting out.
Yeah,
So yeah, it gets kind of crazy in high jump, and then that it's I'm not gonna get too much into it, but
I
it's
get
usually
you.
high jump for us.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Crazy fun fact that most people probably don't know in New Jersey, they have dual meets, and that's how you determine your conference champ. Or they used to when I was coming to high school, right? You
Hmm.
would compete against everybody in your conference in a dual meet, one on one, a
Hmm.
5-3-1 type of
Oh
score,
wow.
first, second, third. But we had the
Mhm.
high jump as the last event after the 4x4. Uh,
Oh, that's horrible.
yeah, tell me about it. And guess who's the
Can't
high jump?
imagine.
Man, it was horrible. But I know. So I want to make sure we get to some of these things. This is technical. I love this layout. We may have to do kind of like a session where we get all of us together and we talk through
Hmm.
some of this technical and kind of planning.
Listen.
I think that would be a great thing. What I would like to talk about real quick, because I know you got to get back to your family. I don't want to keep you. Hopefully, for, please tell your wife thank you. Right?
I will.
I just
I will.
want to
And
thank her
I
so
checked my
much.
phone. She hasn't texted me anything negative yet. So we're
Okay,
still good.
listen. I want to make sure I don't overcook your grits, her grits, and your son, whoever grits. I don't want to overcook them, right? There's just maybe just a couple things real quick because I know we could
Go ahead.
probably do a round two. People want to know about the GPAs and the scholarships and everything, and maybe we can
Yeah.
do a
I
round two
mean,
around that,
and we
right?
can. I mean, we can touch on that too. Like, because to me, that's a very straightforward thing too.
Okay.
Um,
And you got a couple of questions from the track tribe too that I know that they wanted
Listen, I'm
answers too.
already
So
knowing Coach Deadman, let me know. You know.
yeah, Trent's coming for you, man. So real quick, why don't we do that? Because I know we got a few minutes. Again, I don't
Hmm.
want to take too much time, and I want to make sure I'm respectful of everybody else's time as well. And guys, please thank you, and, for bearing with us because we did have a few minutes of a late start. But how did you get your academic turnaround? And then what does that look like? Is that in conjunction with the types of scholarships that you guys were going after, and how are you able to help your girls earn that type of money too?
Yeah. So in terms of the academic turnaround, it's been both on the boys and the girls side. The girls' GPA is the one that I use for like the 2.5 to the
Mhm.
3.4. So to get that turnaround, basically, this is what I told them. I just told them like flat out, my standard is this, right? Um, and I think people, a lot of coaches, like when they coach inner city schools, like it's almost like they're afraid to say what their standard is, as if the kids are going to shy away from it. And so the way I phrased it was, um, hey, is a 2.0 the best you can do? No, I
Mm.
can do better than 2.0. So why wouldn't you do better than a 2.0? Right. And then I broke it down even further to them. And because a couple of the kids were like, well, they said we just got to be passing all our classes. So I did the GPA math for them. I said, okay, if you are passing all your classes with a D minus, your cumulative GPA is a 0.65 or a 0.67. I
Whoa.
said, are you comfortable telling somebody that you graduated with a 0.67 GPA?
Wow.
And then people start listening to you because they're like, wait a minute, I'm passing all my classes, but I got less than a 1.0. Yeah, you got less than a 1.0, right?
Wow.
Or it's not even that. You only have to be passing 75% of your classes. So if you have 8 classes, you have to be passing 6 of them. So if you're passing 6 classes with a 0.67, then you are, I think the math that it comes out to is like a 0.43 or something. It may be a little bit higher than that, but it's somewhere between 0.43 and 0.65
Well, this is out of a four, right?
out of on a 4.0 scale. Yes,
Holy
is
moly.
and that's the state um requirement, and that's how it's written. Right now, schools can obviously go in and like kind of make their own standard that's above that, but you can't go below that.
Right. Okay. So, wow. Jeez. I get it. All right. So now here's my standard, right? I'm going right back to what you said
Yep.
initially, right? Here's the standard, meet the standard. If you don't meet
Hmm.
the standard, you don't run,
Yeah,
right?
and it's that simple. You cannot represent this team, this institution, if you are not carrying yourself above a certain threshold.
Yes.
Because, and then this is what I tell them. And so I had a slide on my very first PowerPoint, right? And it said, "This is the goal," right? And it had people like on a podium and gold medals and like the track and field podium, right?
Yeah.
And then the next scene was everybody taking their caps off and throwing it in the air. I was like, but this is also the goal,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so my students know I will always ask them, what is the number one goal? And they always say graduation. They
Yeah.
know the number one goal is graduation. All right. And then I ask them, well, what's the second goal? And a lot of times they're like, I'm not sure, maybe. And I say, I want you to be a high character individual who contributes
Mm,
to society,
yeah.
right? And I have different ways of saying it, but that's how I want you to be a high character person. So if you have a lot of integrity, but maybe academics just isn't your thing, we can live with that.
Right. You're a productive citizen.
Yep.
Coach, I like you, man. I love the standard because it's not all about the numbers and the data. It's about helping these kids be the best version of themselves, right? And
Yep.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like, and the kids also like the other thing is I show them the data, right?
Yeah.
So I'll do a blind review. Like I won't show the names, but I'll put all the GPAs for the team on the screen, and then I do
Mm,
the math, and then they'll be like, "Who got a 1.2?
right. Yeah.
Who got a who, who got a who only got a 2.2? You dragging the team GPA down right now. They don't know who it is, but that person, they know who they are.
Right.
And
Well,
so
you're tapping into a principle
yeah.
of seeing progress, right? And
Hmm.
that's part of that accountability. It's like if we can see where we're supposed to go and we know how we're doing, people turn up faster, right? You get more progress
Hmm.
that way. You get more buy-in that way. You get more engagement when people can see the road in front of them. We shouldn't just say it. Hey, this is what I need you to do. No, no, no. Let's show what are
Hmm.
you guys really doing here, right? And that's a reality check. I think that's really important. So you gave them the standard
Yeah.
and they stood
and
up.
and then they meet the standard. And so then I'll say this. So just tapping into this. So um once like if you're on a team, like if you coach a team and grades are not really a big issue and you want to get the money for school.
Yeah.
TFRS is going to be your friend. If you don't know what TFRS is, TFRRS, it is where all times at the collegiate level are stored.
Hmm.
You can pull the times from any conference in the United States. Find the conference where your kids' times align with that conference, with scoring in that conference. All you got to do is pick up the phone, call the coach, say, "Hey, coach, what are your standards? What are you looking for this year?" That's a big thing too. A lot of coaches, like you got all these sprinters, but if a coach is not looking for sprinters, they can't do nothing with them. So
Right.
one of the kids on my team this year, junior, I know when he goes to the next level, he's probably not going to be a sprinter, but he's going to have marks as a thrower, as a sprinter, as a hurdler, and as a jumper. He's probably going to be a multis.
I want to say multis, man. Come on, let's go. Multi,
He's going to be a multis,
Yeah.
right? So that's the way to tap into that scholarship money. And then when you start calling coaches, you have to develop relationships with coaches. So the college
Right.
coaches where I've sent kids to, I still call them. I call them, I check on them, I check on how the kids are doing. And i'm also a I'm also a coach that encourages kids to stay. And in the world of the transfer portal and NIL, that is important to coaches.
Right. Absolutely.
So like that's like getting scholarship money, a lot of it is relationship building. So I tell my kids, I'm not sending you anywhere where I don't trust that a coach is going to hold you accountable as a student and as a person.
Absolutely.
If
Yeah.
they're going to let you run rampant, you can't go there.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key things that we look for as well is the longevity of that coach, right? I don't want to send a kid
Hmm.
anywhere that that coach has bounced around every 2 years and now he's all of a
Yep.
sudden there, right? And then
Yep.
you know what? I had a conversation with a coach who will remain nameless, and we really got into the prestigious programs, and the prestigious
Hmm.
programs aren't always the best programs to send a kid because then you're competing against athletes and nobody's really caring for that athlete. A lot of times it's just, hey, you're a number, you're a result, just show up and do it, and that's it. Right? There's no trust building, and not every coach, even at the college level, has the best interests of the athlete. So to your point, I think it's really incredible to know where you're sending your kids and who you're sending your kids to. Um,
Hmm.
right? That's amazing. So you went from mid twos to the threes, and like here's the standard. So again, standard, show up on time,
Hmm.
do what's expected of you, right? Pay to Caesar what is due to Caesar, right?
Yeah.
And
Let's.
if you don't, here's the consequence.
Yeah. And the thing is, and it wasn't just the on time. Like it was a lot of things that I adjusted in my program. Like my kids don't come into and like even I have some of them in math class. They will check the kids who cuss in front of me. Hey, you can't cuss in front of coach,
Hmm.
right? Not to say that I've never cussed ever, like in front of the kids. Like I
Right.
slip up sometimes, right? But that was another thing because we were getting dinged for cussing. Like you can lose points for that at a track meet.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that
It'll be
like I
here.
had to have them understand like this is a standard because it not only is it not a professional thing, but also like you're gonna end up costing yourself at a track meet.
Right.
So like all of those small things about like how to be professional, how to carry yourself, things like that. All of that stuff rolls over. And the kid, like I was so surprised. Like I didn't realize like what the kids paid attention to. Like
They do.
they paid they paid attention to the fact that I was married. When my son was about to be born, like every single day. I had
Mm,
kids that weren't even on the track team, coming in. Hey, coach, how's your wife? How's the baby?
yeah.
Hey, coach, baby's been born. How's the baby? What's the name? Can you bring him over here? I'll babysit for you. Things like that are things that like when they say like thankless jobs and things like that. Like you cannot put a price tag on the relationships that you build, and then kids are like
Yep.
loyal to a fault.
Yeah.
And so, you always want to make sure like you're taking care of what has to be taken care of to set them up for success. Because what you don't want is you don't want to fail them at this level, then they go to the next level and then they are in for a rude awakening because that coach has to feed their family
Yeah.
on you succeeding or failing.
Right. Hey, you know what, coach, and I think what you're saying is really important here. Um, you're the example, right? And we pull our kids forward. A lot of people try to push him and go, do this, do this, do this,
Hmm.
but you aren't doing it, right? No, no, no. How
Hmm.
about we show up the way we're expecting? And one of the things that I teach our kids, if you're going to ask somebody to do something, you better be doing the most of that thing you're asking. I mean, I tell our coaches, if you want people to show up on time, you better be the most on time person you've ever met in your life, right? If you want people to work hard, you better be the hardest working person they see. If you want people to have integrity, you better have the most integrity out there. And
Hmm.
you can't be A over here, or you can't plant apple seeds and expect watermelons, right? It doesn't work like that. So you got this program, and we're kind of wrapping up here because I don't want to get you
Yep.
back to your family.
Hmm.
One, walked in the door, be on time, and that's kind of the
Hmm.
minimum standard there. There are other things I'm sure that went into it, right? Show
Hmm.
up, meet the mark. If you don't, here's a consequence. We'll put you over here. Don't care how fast you are. You got to respect the system and
Hmm.
and your team and respect each other. And if you don't, then this is what you get, right? Then you're looking at, hey, here's our plan for the year. This is what we do. Here are the things that I really want to focus on that are important for us for this team. Showing the data, explaining to the kids what's really happening, making sure that you're customizing, tailoring the trainings to what it is that they need and
Hmm.
finding ways to expose those weaknesses, but having
Hmm.
enough wisdom to stop when things don't make sense, right?
Hmm.
Instead of just sticking to the proverbial plan. Then
Yeah.
academics, let's get it together. We got to
Yep.
be on this. We got to be here. Here's the target, y'all, and meet this target, and then you qualify for X, right? So what I see here is a system of here's the goal, here's the outcome, here are the ways that we
Hmm.
can get there. It's up to you to get there, right? So you've given them, you've empowered the kids, you've empowered the staff, you've shown by example what it's like and to be what you're asking them so that they can follow. You're building trust with the athletes. And that is what has essentially created this culture of very successful athletes.
Hmm.
People ask, how do you build a winning program? You start with a standard, you don't back down from that standard, you hold people accountable, you empower them to hold each other accountable, and you become the example. And then you mix in all the fun data in between in Excel sheets like Coach has here. That it's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, and then you execute, and you do that consistently. Coach, that's amazing. I do have a couple of questions. I know Coach
Okay.
Dedman would kill me if I don't
Absolutely.
ask these
Absolutely.
questions. He's gonna jump
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah.
So, the two questions we have, and then we'll kind of
Mhm.
wrap up and roll out. The first one is, what is something that you could have only learned from your USATF or other courses?
So he said that I was like, what am I going what should I say to this? I'm not sure. Well, the thing is this layout that I have right here on the screen is actually from USATF,
Mm,
right? And as a matter of fact, what you can't see is this down here. Let me scroll down. Come on, come on, come on. So you see this little thing right here? This
mm.
yellow. This is directly from the Sports Science 2 course that was taught by Dr. Brookins.
Ooh.
um, Dr. Brookins from UCLA. I believe she was at UCLA. She might not be there anymore, but that was who taught the sports science 2 course. So if you ever do a level 2 course for USA track and field, you have to do sports science 2 first before
Right,
you can test for your certification.
right.
Um, and so this is what I used to when I like, and I looked at it like every day first when I first started creating programs because I went to the jumps first, but I still had to figure out how to coach the sprints. And I hadn't like done it. I hadn't done their course on the blocks and I didn't have the hurdle equation and all of this other stuff, right? So I was kind of doing a lot of research on my own, trying to figure it out. But I always had this as a foundation for the energy system that I was taxing. Um, the other thing is, if you look right here, I have a note to myself, create a base fitness assessment for testing before Christmas break. So standing broad jump, standing triple jump, 40-yard dash, 30-meter fly, overhead shot put slash med ball throw, 45-second sprint, and a 1 mile run. Right. So it this is not the fitness assessment. It was just a note that I made to myself to make sure that I include the 5 biomotor abilities in whatever assessment I do, so that I have a good understanding of where the athlete is as a whole.
Mm,
So that was something that I learned from level two. Oh, I don't want to move that. That was something that I learned from the level two course with USA Track and Field. And the other thing is, I tell people they should go. Like even if you think you know everything, go, because guess who's there? College coaches are there,
mm,
right? So I've met some college coaches at level two that I kind of got an upper hand on, because guess what? If I call them, they already know me. They know I went through the same instruction that they did. They saw me present whatever I presented during that time, depending on which course I met them in. Um, and then I also have uh, a lifeline, right? So your when you go to USATF, the instructor, I can't speak for level one. Um, well, some of my level one instructors were also my level two instructors. But at level two specifically, when you get those instructors, if you are like struggling, like floundering, and you just reach out to them, hey coach, I'm really struggling with this. I got this many kids, I'm trying to figure this out. They'll reach back out to you and they'll talk you through it.
Hmm.
And that was where I learned that you can just talk to a college coach just normal. Because
Right.
when I first started coaching, I was like in awe. I mean, and a lot of it had to do with the university and the marks that the athletes had. But Coach Chu, who's down at TCU, um, Coach Morgan told me to reach out to her. One of the best humans I've ever met in my life.
Mm.
You know, um, um, head coach at Tarleton State, Bobby Carter, one of the best people I've met in my life. Met him
Mm.
at USATF jumps, right? When he was still at University of Arizona. Like you learn by going to these places, by interacting with people, like how the game actually works.
Right.
And and coaches will tell you like that's not gonna work for me, you know. So I know like the coaches that I talk to, they'll tell me straight up, nah, I can't use them. Or hey, I didn't think I could use them, but yeah, like give me a call,
Right.
right? And so that's what it is. Like coaches are still people, and
Yeah.
I didn't know how much or how little they knew in college until I started going to these coaching clinics.
Yeah.
And they don't know how much you know or don't know until you go to these coaching clinics, and you get to kind of show them.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny that you say that because, of course, if you've been in a game long enough, you find out that what it, there was a past president, and he talked about any level you go to, you're gonna find geniuses and you're gonna find fools. And so that I find that to be true in every group or environment I've ever seen. It includes college coaches, high school coaches, middle school, youth,
Hmm.
the pros. You've got some geniuses, and then you got some people that probably should not be coaching, right? So I never
Yeah,
mention any
yeah,
names. I've met some people, and I'm like, "Who put you in charge?" That's not right. But hey, to each their
yeah.
own, and I pray for the athletes that they find great people at all times. Okay, so the second question here is, what is something that you could not learn from a course but had to learn by experience?
That I'm on a perfect campus. So the building that we train in is the Long Hall. Coach Dedman, I saw your name pop up. Coach Dedman, if you are ever in the Indianapolis area, give me a call and I'll give you a personal tour of campus. So the building we train in, it is a square.
Oh,
Guess how long the square is
it is
going all the way
400
around?
meters.
No, it's exactly 200 meters.
Ah, darn it, I was gonna go for.
So when I'm training for indoor, where do I train at? I train in that building. And so I have a hallway that's 80 meters. The side hallways are 20 meters, no, 70 meters and 30 meters on the side, right?
Mm.
And depending on how deep into the corner they cut, it's um it can be a little bit more. It can go all the way up to like 250 meters, right?
Wow.
Um, and so I learned that before I went to USATF for sprints. I had my walking stick and I was just measuring. And then another building, the hallway is 120 meters exactly from wall to
Wow.
wall. And so I'm like, okay, that I can work with this because when I need to do 80 meters, they have 40 meters to slow down. And, most of them are not, really going all the way through the line when they first start anyway. Um, so, um, so I learned that just from being on the campus. And that's the creative coach brain uh, side of things. The other thing that I did learn from USATF, and this was in the sprints course, if you change the if you change the rest time, you can change the type of workout that you have. So one of the workouts that was shared, this wasn't USATF, it was just one of the coaches. One of the instructors shared it, and it's called 400 meters the hard way, right? So it's called 400 the hard way. So it's 40 meters, and it's a relay. So it's basically down, back, down, back. So you go down and back 5 times or 10 40s. But everybody's getting less than a minute break, basically. You
Yeah.
break it up into the group so everybody gets about a minute rest. And so when you shorten the rest like that for a 40, it changes the response that
Yeah.
the body or it changes the adaptation. So
Yeah.
maybe you only have about 40 meters to work with, but you need to do a speed endurance workout. You can do something like that
Hmm.
um, to get that kind of workout instead of having to rely solely on the distance.
That's powerful. So our 400 meter, what the hard way was different. Our coach would make us run. Well, this was outdoor, but
Mm,
that's really cool. We did 100 meters and walk back 50. We had to make our way all the way around the track.
mm.
And yeah, we that 50-meter walk back was like, we were trying to be like zombies, was
Yeah, trying to
walking
walk
slow.
back as slow as possible.
But yeah, man,
Yeah.
that thing, that speed endurance and or that tempo, oh my God. Yeah, you would
Yep.
think, and by the time you get to that sixth, seventh, eighth one, you're like, yo, I'm done, right? And the kids, that's one of the thing that they don't understand. Like sometimes you tell them to go 70, 75%, 3/4 speed here. You think they're like, oh no, we're not running fast enough. By the time they get to that seventh or eighth one, they're like leaning over, looking for every bit of
Hmm.
trying to hold their lunch in. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
the hardest part is keeping them at that pace where they want to go faster, right? And they don't understand the
Yeah.
recovery and time. So, but man, Coach, man, I know at some point we're gonna have to do a round two and dig into some more of this technical stuff because I know that everybody really loves and enjoys the technical pieces of it. And again, I think we're probably gonna do another coaches roundtable, get all the coaches together and just talk through the speed, talk through the science, because I think that's important. Like the sports science part of it is important,
Yeah.
the data is,
Yeah.
is important,
Yeah.
but also learning how to build relationships with your kids and not be a Richard. Take that and y'all filled in the blank on that one, right?
Um, yeah, I mean, but I felt the need to share that because everybody focuses so much on the technical piece, and it's almost to the point of forgetting like what coaching is really about. Like
Yeah.
in coaching, like what does coach literally mean? It is getting somebody from point A to point B, and coaching is both an art and a science. And I feel like I've mastered the art of coaching.
Yeah,
The science, I'm still working on, getting it, figuring out exactly how the science works for my kids. Um, because that's sometimes you just got to be in it long enough.
absolutely.
So, but yeah, this is a good conversation. I love being on here. Coach Deadman, I'm gonna reach out to you. I'm gonna shoot you my contact information because our state association, our coaches association just released some meets. So I'm gonna send those your way for the indoor season. Um, and then I'll shoot you my information, Coach Jones. If you have anybody who wants more like the real nitty gritty, because I can really nerd out on the science stuff. I just opted, I just, one where I'm at, like I thought I was gonna be in the home office and I'm not in the home office.
No, no,
I
you
thought I
good.
was gonna be on my other laptop. I'm not on my other laptop, but I still wanted to make sure that I was here. But if anybody wants like some of like I said, like the real nitty gritty, like nerdy kind of stuff, like I have all kinds of stuff, man. I have the Pythagorean theorem stuff for high jump. you know, like I got all kinds of stuff. I have the equation, like I told you the equation for the hurdles. I have that down pat. I
Mhm.
have an actual like equation for measuring out the push float turn drill I talked about for the long jump.
Yeah,
Like I got a lot of stuff that
well,
I
thank you.
wanted. I didn't know I was gonna be able to share on screen. So the next time, we get on, um, next time we get on, I'll make sure I have some of that stuff kind of preloaded so I can just share it, and people can, and then I can send you the PowerPoint over as well. So
Oh yeah. Look, we've got a lot ahead of us, right? We didn't even have to do it all in one night, man. The vision is coming to pass. The reason why I created the track tribe was for this, right? For us to be able to get together, to share um, our knowledge, our resources, and to sharpen each other, right? Because I may know something that you don't know, you know some things that I don't know, and if we share that, yes, it's a competitive edge, and we think we hold on to things, and we're just, man, listen, the more we share with each other, the better the competition gets, and the better the meets get, the better the kids get. And if you're really a coach that loves the kids, you want the best of competition, right? We don't dodge any smoke, as we say. We want all the smoke, as we say down south, right? We looking for the smoke. And I'm gonna tell
absolutely.
you, if you're ever, if, I don't know if you got travel or not, but if you ever guys ever come down to the Atlanta area, or maybe we'll go down to the Bob Hayes meet at some point. We can't go this year, but like the Bob Hayes meet in Florida. We got some smoke down here in Georgia too. If y'all
Yeah.
want to come get some.
We me and my coach Jones, the boys head coach.
Yeah.
Um, he and I were just having a conversation today. We're going to sit down and make sure we set up things like the paperwork so that we can get some of our kids to travel some of these other places.
Oh yeah.
Because, like you said, like I want the kids to be able to go down to uh University of Kentucky to some of these indoor meets that are just open.
Yeah.
Because yeah, transparently, I just need to see grown people. Like, I need
Right.
to see what it's like when you get there and you look lowly old freshman and you running against somebody that might be 23, 24 years old because they skipped a year or they had a red shirt from
Hmm.
COVID or all the different ways in which the eligibility gets sliced. Like, you need to see that because some of these folks are not playing. Like, they
At
are
all.
they're trying to make a living.
Listen, you can the Alabama. We go to Alabama for our indoor meets because we have to go unattached. We don't really have an indoor season in Georgia. So if you ever go to the Birmingham complex, man, I'm gonna tell you, dude, there's
I've
some.
I've, I've looked at it. I,
Yeah.
I I found it online. It's nice.
Yeah,
I want to
it's some
go.
smoke in the city over there, man. And we just now, the freshman girls that just came in this year for in Georgia are going to shake up the entire state. I can tell you right now. I don't know if you ever heard of Melanie Doggett. She
Okay,
ran
then. Oh yeah,
22.9
yeah,
as
yeah.
an eighth grader in the
Yeah.
200. The most ridiculous. She's a freshman now at the high school level, so we get to see her. There are a couple of other girls out here that are running like 54 seconds in the open 400. Yeah, they were just eighth graders and they're coming up. There's some girls that are jumping like 19s, 20s. Down. I'm telling you, man, it's some smoke
Hey,
down in the South.
I got a couple freshmen
Yeah,
coming in. I'm just keep your eyes open because some
yeah,
of these
I'm
freshmen
excited.
coming in up here, they going. I have a freshman that I fully expect to break two or three of our school records before
Nice.
she finishes her sophomore year.
Wow.
Um, so it was good talking with you.
Likewise.
Um, I enjoyed being on here. Anybody in the track tribe is always open to reaching out to me because I know I will be asking questions as well. I've trained in a lot of limited space and limited capacity environments. So if anybody uh, wants to know like how to do XYZ 1, 2, 3, but they only got this, right?
Yeah.
There's some things you can work with, you know. Um, and I know Coach Dedman, I think his session is going to be over large group training. So I'm gonna tap into that as well because I would like to see how he does some things as well. So thank you for having
Absolutely.
me.
Man, coach, I appreciate you. Thank you, especially in these times and these circumstances, man. I appreciate your commitment. I appreciate you being in the standing in the gap for these kids, man. You're an amazing man, and I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful that you're there, helping those kids as well, and just being the mentors that they need, sometimes being the father figures that they need, standing there with them, being empathetic, and being a solid human being, and being the example. We don't have a lot of that a lot of times. And so it does mean the world. If to no one else, it means the world to me that I know that I've got a brother up in Indianapolis that is doing it right. Um, and consistently and with integrity. So I really appreciate you. And then also thank you to your wife who allowed us to borrow you for a brief time to share with us your great knowledge. So please thank her. If I have to send flowers, let me know to keep you out of the doghouse. I'll
That
send
might
some
help.
flowers. No, we appreciate you praying for
Absolutely.
your son that all is well and to continue healing, and the rest of your family is at peace with everything that is happening. And we know things are going to go in a great way. We appreciate you.
All right.
Next week, um, next Monday we've got Coach Dedman too. So you just talked about that. We're going to be talking about simple systems and big results, and so he's going to talk about how he runs his entire program and how he keeps everything in sync. Coach, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us. This is the Track Tribe, y'all. All right, guys, we are out of here. Thank you for attending. I appreciate you all. And see you next Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the famous or infamous, whichever you want to call him, Coach Dedman. Simple systems and big results. Y'all better beat us there. Don't just meet us there. Until next week, we're out of here.